Hi, I'm Hannah,
And I'm Matt Hannah.
and this is Horror Hour with the Hannahs.
Pull up a seat and don't look behind you.
Hell yeah, dog. Well, today we are joined by a fun new guest to the show. We're being joined by Dan from Real Takes on TikTok and Instagram and the podcast Goodwill Podcasting. Hello, Dan.
How's it going, guys? Happy to be here. Looking forward to this. Lots to talk about with this
Yes.
movie. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I could go on for like a long time on the 28 Years Later films. So I'm
Yeah.
pumped to talk about it, especially because I think you have a slightly different take or opinion on it than we do. So I think it'll be fun. But before
We're
we
here
get,
to fight.
I don't think we're gonna fight. Maybe about
I'm
28
ready.
years later, but not Bone Temple.
No, Dan, I would never go toe to toe with you. You are a professional hater in a good way. That's a compliment.
Complimentary.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, yeah. So feel free to pitch yourself. Where can everyone find you? What do you do on the internet?
Yeah, just really TikTok and Instagram. Pretty much talk about movies and television, general culture stuff, news, politics, sports occasionally, just kind of whatever comes to my head on a given day. But film and TV is kind of the backbone of everything and kind of what I fall back to.
I want to shout out something you do that I like a lot, which is your crossover of film and politics, especially recently with some of your
Yeah.
coverage of the Golden Globes. Love that shit. Big fan. So I would say keep fighting the good fight, and everyone should go follow Dan.
Yeah, if you have any family members who are like a little ignorant Republicans, I've sent videos of
Of Dan?
Dan's to my mother. She did not respond, but I sent them. So
Yeah, I mean, depending on the person, they might not talk to you again, but I mean, at your own risk, I guess.
Yeah.
yeah, that's true. Now I'm careful with which ones I send to her because some of them I think
Okay,
would
good.
like scar her. But she's heard
I
like
did
all
say
of it from me
professional
anyway.
haters, so, you know.
Yeah, makes
Yes.
money off of hating, but it's like appropriate hating. You know, like it's
Yeah, well,
like I'm also a hater. I get it.
yeah. All right, well,
Dan's a more eloquent hater though, so that's nice. Okay,
Thank
well
you.
anyway,
that's why we podcast, and he makes really good TikToks.
yeah. What brought you to like TikTok, Instagram, and like podcasting about film? Which one came first, by the way?
It was TikTok. Honestly, what happened is I don't talk about this much. I got hurt really badly at the start of 2023. I hurt my ankle playing sports and pretty much destroyed my ankle and foot. So I was kind of laid up for a long time with nothing to do. I was working from home at the time, um, and I really needed something to put my kind of time and energy and passion into. So I didn't even have like TikTok or anything on my phone. Never had TikTok during the pandemic or anything. Um, and I don't really know why I decided to do this, but I just decided to start talking about film stuff because I've always been my family are all big movie people. I kind of got into watching and enjoying things through my parents, and really never stopped, and it's always kind of been a passion. So um, as I was laid up, kind of you know getting my ankle mismanaged by doctors and stuff, I just kind of started doing it. In the beginning, I had really no idea what I was doing, but I just kind of dove in and kind of found the community. And there's found people like you guys, and there's, I mean, really, there's thousands and thousands of people that are talking about this stuff and that really love it. It's a good community. Um, and I kind of found some people I really connected with, and then as time passed, I started getting more comfortable with it because at the beginning I was very much not. And my like old videos are really really bad, but I was just kind of feeling it out. But kind of found what I wanted my voice to be, and then got a little bored just talking about film and TV stuff, and kind of started talking about other things, and um, that people I guess started listening at a certain point, and at a certain point I kind of was just like, I want to always be having fun and feel like I'm talking about things that I care about. So I try to just, go with whatever I feel and not just, you know, like I'm not someone who will ever be like, well, Stranger Things came out, so I'm going to make 25 videos about Stranger. Like I can't do that. I feel like I would get bored, and I don't want to get bored doing this, so I just try to mix it up. But anyway, yeah, that basically is I started because I got hurt, and I ended up getting surgery, like I guess the start of 2024, and I need another surgery now, which I'm trying to schedule as we speak. But this has been kind of getting me through all of that stuff. So
I'm
that's
sorry to
kind
hear
of
that,
my
but
story.
I'm glad that something positive came out of it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, for sure.
And I
It's
have to say, you brought up Stranger Things, and I also wanted to shout out that video about people trying to compare it to Game of Thrones because
I'm
I was
just like, what are
completely
we
on the same
doing?
page with you as a kind of hater of anything past season one. I was happy to see someone else say it because I feel like I'm going insane with the way people talk about that show. So
Yeah, and I try like, you know, I try to let people like what they like, and people like different things, but like we don't have to pretend that that show is like even a bad episode of Game of Thrones, like the acting, you know, how the show looks, the themes, the personal dynamics, like even in a bad episode, there's something happening that catches your attention, and like Stranger Things, it's not in the same stratosphere of show. So I got a little bit confused at some of the, and it's
careful,
fun
you're
to
gonna
compare.
you're gonna get death threats again.
Yeah, you'd be shocked at some of the things that got sent to me.
Oh
But
no, I everyone on this pod knows how many threats I got for being a huge fan of Skinamarink. So most of them weren't death
people,
threats, but it was more like threatening to fight. So I
Yeah.
opened
honestly,
myself up to
I
it.
haven't watched that movie yet, and I really would like to because I know it's a very polarizing thing. But I'm curious about it.
Well, I loved it, but that doesn't say anything because
No.
most of the world didn't.
Yeah,
So
maybe you'll be
Well,
one of the people who also wants to fight Matt. I guess we'll see.
or
no,
or he's gonna
never
or he's
that.
gonna protect me. Dan's gonna be
Yeah,
like,
he
Yeah.
hey,
might
get.
end up in your corner.
I,
Who's to
I
say?
made a joke about this on a previous pod, but there was someone who commented. It was like, "Don't worry, Skinamarink guy, get behind me," and it was
Yes.
just him and I.
There are a decent amount of people that do like it. Like I definitely have met some other people, so you're not
Yeah,
totally alone.
we'll see. There's all 10 of us.
Yeah, all 10 of you. Yeah. So on the film side of things, what films are you most excited for this year? I'm assuming this was one of them because it certainly was for us, but what else is on the horizon for you?
There's a lot of stuff. I honestly think this is a really good year for movies. I think it's a really exciting year. A couple things I'm excited for. I kind of go. There's a few that kind of go without saying. I think the Odyssey is just one of those things that's going to be a moment, that everyone kind of just comes together and is like, wow, this is really cool, which I always look forward to stuff like that. I think it's really nice. I mean, we're talking about it a little bit. There's all, there tends to be healthy, generally disagreement in the film community, and it's rare that there's something where everyone comes together and is like, no, that was awesome, which is kind of what Sinners was this year, which I think is why that was so fun. And it's a really like when something like that happens, it's cool to see. But definitely excited for the Odyssey. I am excited for The Bride. Um, Maggie Gyllenhaal's Frankenstein movie. I think there's a chance it could be really bad, but I
Yeah.
think that's like a very small chance. I think it's going to be most likely very good. I'm hoping to like it more than Frankenstein, honestly.
So are we.
which we sat for
Yeah,
everyone out there.
we
We sat
watched
next to
together.
each other. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was a good time.
That was a tough movie.
I'll
Yeah.
always say after watching very 5 depressing movies the previous 2 days, I was like kind of needed that palate cleanser. But as time
Yeah.
has gone on and the way people have talked about that movie, I am full on hater now. So
It got like I wanted to feel about it how I feel like so many people felt, and like it's getting a lot of award
it's
buzz, and I'm
crazy.
just like, what? Like,
What am I
anyway,
not seeing?
it's
Yeah,
yeah,
we are all on the same page with it now. At the time, I was like, oh, it's fine, and now I'm just like, there's so much better stuff out there.
Yeah.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's
Um,
fine. I'm not going to yuck any yums.
Yeah, for sure. Also, Disclosure Day, Spielberg movie,
Yes.
just kind of goes without saying.
How could you not?
Yeah.
Another Spielberg alien movie that's like been begging for that.
Mother Mary, also the David Lowery movie with
Anne
Michaela
Hathaway.
Cole and Anne Hathaway. I'm excited for
Yeah.
that. Um, and I don't want to go on too long, but it's a good
It's an
year.
exciting year,
And then you
yeah.
get to, we wait till December and we get Werewolf, which is going to be the Eggers movie, which I'm really excited for. So
Yeah.
and Dune, obviously.
Yes, can't forget that. So pumped.
Yeah.
Hopefully that is the one that gets Denny all his flowers, but I guess we'll see. But
Yeah.
this movie was definitely high up on our list of movies we were excited for. 28 years later, The Bone Temple. It was directed by Nia DaCosta and written by Alex Garland, and it was shot back to back with its predecessor, 28 years later, which was directed by Danny Boyle. It's starring Ray Fiennes, Jack O'Connell, and Alfie Williams, and Aaron Kellyman. And the back of the box description is, as Spike is inducted into Jimmy Crystal's gang on the mainland, Dr. Kelson makes a discovery that could alter the world. So, a little fun background, obviously, because there is a change in director for these films. I wanted to pull a couple things that Nia DaCosta said about her experience making the film. What she said about her pitch to direct the film is, no one else can make a Danny Boyle film, and that was actually the biggest part of my pitch for the movie. I was like, no one else can do that, and I don't have any intention of doing that. Here's how I see the film. What do you think? And I quite like that, because that is very true. They obviously are, different in style, but that was always going to happen. It just would not be the same final product if it was trying to copy and paste, so... I like that she went with her own vision.
And I think it makes sense for the content of this movie as well. So.
Yes, thematically, there's a bit of a shift.
Yes.
So I like it. And then she said that it was one of her best filmmaking experience she's had, and that one of the issues she had with Candyman and The Marvels was the lack of a very solid script. But she said, Alex Garland hands you a script and you're like, this is amazing. You don't really have to change it. Although I did. I basically asked for more infected. That was like my big contribution, which is very funny to me because if we got more infected and this is the version with more infected, I get why she would want that.
Yeah.
So you go, girl. You tell them. That is my primary background on her. The other background that I had is related to our boy Samson and the scene in which he and Dr. Kelson danced to Duran Duran's Rio was not part of the original script, but was improvised.
And whose idea was that? Do they know?
It was Ray Fiennes.
Of course. All right.
Yeah.
Not surprising.
Yeah, not surprising at all.
Once again, proving why he's one of our most important actors.
Yeah.
And I feel like only the film people know.
He's
only the Grand Budapest
icon.
lovers know.
And the actor Chai Lewis Perry, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I'm very sorry, sir, if I'm not. Who portrayed Samson said that there was a take where he just took my hand and was looking at me and was like, come on then. And I just went with it. He also said this was, quote, the most fun he's had naked. And he said to portray Samson, he wore a full body prosthetic bodysuit, which took 7 artists 6 to 8 hours to apply.
Whoa.
Wow. It's a lot of time.
Yeah, so for anyone...
So you're telling me the whole 28 inches later was not natural?
No, 28 inches is not natural. God. I was about to make that joke, so I'm glad you stole it.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
We love a movie that hangs dong.
Sad.
But this isn't the only dong that's hung in this movie, so hell
that's a
yeah,
spoiler.
bro.
That's a spoiler.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in the spoiler section, I guess. Because the 28 movies are known as zombie films, even though technically they're not zombies, they're infected,
they're
which we will
rage monsters.
get to in our...
They use the word zombie in this movie, though, so...
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember that? Jimmy does.
Don't remember.
One of the Jimmys.
Jimmy would.
Yeah.
So we did ask, what's your favorite zombie film? And we got a ton of answers, so I'm going to speed through them. Heather Stewart said Train to Busan. Annabella T said Shaun of the Dead. Tom Servo said Dawn of the Dead. Kay Scanlon 653 said Train to Busan. The one I love, though, despite some problems I had with it, is the 2004 remake of Dawn of the Dead. Movies and Us Pod said I enjoyed Handling the Undead, which came out a few years ago. It's more of a meditation on grief and loss than about zombies, but I had a good time with it. And then on the other end of the spectrum, I love Shaun of the Dead, which love that we're getting the full spectrum of answers there, like they said. A couple people said Pontypool, which I am not familiar with. I have not seen it, but thanks Bells of Horror and Gory Rory 3 for sharing that. And of course, Alex Cat 203 said Night of the Living Dead.
That's mine.
Horrifying if no one said that. Pickle Sandwich, my favorite account name in the history of ever, said Warm Bodies.
I also think that's a very funny shout out, and
It's a fun shout out. Yeah. And then finally, our friend outside the pod, Ethan Steinmetz, said Train to Busan, 28 years later. Hell yeah, dog. And of course, Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island.
Probably the scariest zombie movie I've ever seen. Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island.
We love
that one.
A
put me into
shout.
Years of nightmares as a child. So, and we have an episode on that. So if everyone is listening, go take a listen to that one.
Yes.
So,
of course, we would cover that for Zombie Month. But he said 28 years later. So I kind of wanted to get our conversation about Bone Temple going by asking, what did we think of 28 years later? Because obviously that is going to kind of influence our thoughts on this film. Dan, I will let you go first. If you want to just give a brief summary of your thoughts on that film.
Brief summary is that was one of my least favorite movies of the year, to be honest. I really kind of disliked it. I thought the first third or so, I was hooked. I was interested. I felt like it feels kind of like there were maybe 3 or 4 distinct different little movies in that movie, and I don't think any of it felt very. I don't think the transitions between them felt smooth. I thought the editing was jarring. I thought the cinematography, like I found a lot of it just annoying and distracting. And I thought some of it took itself a bit too seriously, and it all just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And like the ending, especially I think rubbed me the wrong way. I think it just felt like it went so far in another direction after this sort of very heavy storyline about, cancer and death and blah and all this stuff. And then it's like, here's Teletubby, Jimmy Saviles. And it's like, what are we doing? It just wasn't for me. And yeah, I think kind of textbook wasn't for me, but I still like, even walking out, I really disliked it, but I was curious to see what would come next at the same time.
And I will ask, and without spoilers, do you have a different opinion on it now that you have seen the Bone Temple, or do you still feel the same? Okay, same.
No.
Yep,
Okay,
got
interesting.
It.
Yeah.
All right.
So, Matt, what was your thoughts briefly on 28 years later?
Funnily enough, I was the exact opposite. However, upon first viewing, I liked it a lot. I think I gave it an 8 out of 10. For me, I thought, and we have an episode on it, but all of the experimental portions really worked for me. I could understand why they would be jarring for some, but I don't know. Dan, we watch a lot of bad horror movies. And so to see some like craftsmanship in my horror movie, especially as someone who considers himself a film person first, horror movie person second, this was like a breath of fresh air for me. And so like there's that element to it. Yeah. We were also coming off of Sinners, which was this amazing cinematic experience. So I was like, I'm getting another cinematic experience, but from the not more experimental, but a different type of experimental side. Mm-hmm. And I had an absolute blast. The introspective part like really spoke to me, and the grief narrative worked. And like, I probably felt similarly about the ending. But like, I just sometimes like when people swing for the fences, whether they connect or not. And so it all kind of just fell in a place that just really works for someone with my just taste, I guess.
Yeah.
So, and it's one that I was like, that's pretty good. And then as time has gone on, I haven't rewatched. Me looking back on it, I like it more and more.
That's kind of how I felt too.
And you just rewatched it. I didn't get a chance to. So give us your thought.
When I first saw it, I gave it like an 8 out of 10-ish. I didn't like it quite as much as Matt, whose 8 out of 10 seemed way higher than mine. I like listened back to our recording, and there were things where I was like iffy about it. But overall, I liked the way it was shot. I understand why people found it like pretty jarring, but I liked that it was experimental. And I do feel like the jarring nature of the way it was shot and edited especially in that first third and during any moments of the violence, I think really complements the themes of the film because it has a very anti-war narrative and
that's very much what this first one is about.
Yes,
it's very just anti-war, anti-sending children off to fight, basically.
Yeah. So I thought that in that way it was very thematically relevant, the like leaps that it took there, but I understand why that like shooting it like that wouldn't have worked with this movie because it's thematically doing something very different.
Yes.
Which we'll talk about. I also do like that while some of, like at the first time I saw it, I was like, oh, these different, it feels like different sections and I don't know how well they like tonally connect necessarily. But rewatching it this time, and you know, I kind of thought this over the course of the year, is that they all kind of contribute to Spike's coming of age narrative and like him coming to terms with like what is important to him and what being a man is to him. And I really like thinking about it that way. I very much understand why all of those stories are there. And also, I don't think we get Bone Temple the way we do if we don't set up all of those arcs. So I think there's an argument to be made that like maybe how they set up the arcs is jarring, but I think without getting the introduction of all of these characters, like, this movie isn't as good. Bone Temple.
Yeah, you know, this is a weird comparison, but I kind of felt that Bone Temple was like the Kill Bill Volume 2 to Kill Bill Volume 1, where it's a little more introspective. I mean, the violence is turned up in a different way, but I feel that they're going for a little more like character study and less bombastic, like experimental filmmaking. And I think that worked for me, but I don't know if that's a crazy comparison.
I get what you mean, and we'll get into it.
Yeah.
So going into this film, Dan, like what were your expectations, having not liked the first one, but like knowing this was a different director and whatnot? Were your expectations different going into it?
I think something that's kind of nice is my expectations were sort of non-existent. I think like I said, I still had kind of a morbid curiosity after 28 years and was, I'm a fan of Nia DaCosta. I think she's someone, I mean, I've talked about her pretty much since I started on TikTok kind of because like, the Marvels came out and I was pretty involved. Like I followed that pretty closely and kind of saw a lot of the news around that movie was very strange. And I think what they did to her was basically try to hang her out to dry and railroad her and say this is her fault. And she was just like, look, dude, this wasn't my movie. Like, I didn't have control over this. It's a very strange movie where, like, there's these, it's like so short. It's like an hour 35, an hour 40. There's like these little moments where you're like, oh, there's an interesting movie here. Like, when there's a scene where it's like, Captain Marvel is they're like I don't on some planet or something, and basically the lesson is between Carol Danvers and Kamala Khan, like you can't save everybody as a hero, and there's like a serious scene in there, and it's a really good scene, and then it's just like it feels like the movie has to undercut itself and be so goofy and like silly and like a kids movie. It's just like it's a strange movie tonally, and it came after Candyman, which I thought was good. But the thing that had me kind of more excited closer to this movie was I watched Hedda from last year, which I think is just one of the better-ish movies of the year. I really, really was high on it. It was the first movie she produced in her career, so like her money was behind it. I think she kind of had full faith in it, and it's really amazing. I think Tessa Thompson gave one of the best performances of last year. And I think she captured what that story is really about. And it's a lot of fun as a movie. And I think when I watched that, I was like, okay, now I'm even more excited for this. And, so again, my expectations were kind of low, but I was excited just because of the change. And the other thing is I don't really like 28 days. Like, to be totally honest.
Oh, so no, that's like, interesting.
I don't either.
Yeah, Hannah feels similar, fine. But we've talked a lot about why. And I think part of Hannah's reason for not liking it is because she'd seen so much zombie media prior to it that it looks very derivative, even though it was
what came first
what
and
came first in a lot of
inspired a
ways,
lot of
but
yeah.
I don't love it.
Also,
I
that
think
it
it's
looks like
good,
it's
but
recorded on a toaster.
yeah, well, that was the point. But
So
yes,
yeah, but I still don't. It still
it
looks
just
Yeah,
doesn't
fake.
work for you.
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
where I'm at. Like, I understand what they were going for, but like, I just don't like. It's not a movie I will ever like. I don't know that I'll ever watch it again. Like, I'm just I don't like looking at this movie. I think I think a lot of what it's doing emotionally is really interesting. Then it gets to
Hmm.
the third act, and it's just like basically like you know will this woman get sexually assaulted? I don't know. Let's find out. Like that's what it becomes, and I'm just like, all
Yes.
right, dude. Like this is. It's just that becomes boring. It's not interesting. But a lot of the human stuff before that, I think is good. I'm one of the only people in the world that I think that likes 28 Weeks Later, which now just doesn't kind of got retconned and doesn't exist. But I like that movie a lot. I like it. It's my second favorite movie in the franchise. But you talked about feeling alone on Skinamarink. I think I feel alone on 28 Weeks Later.
You're not the first person I've heard say that. And it's actually one I have never gotten around to watching
Oh
because
wow.
of people's takes. So, and it's like kind of been on my list. So, you saying that's going to, I guess, move it up for me.
I meant to
I I,
watch
I
it
think
for this
sorry.
recording, and then I watched 28 Years Later
And again,
again
instead.
instead,
Gotcha.
and I don't
Yeah,
regret that.
the end of 28 weeks like again gets retcon sort of, so it doesn't really matter. But I think it's a far more interesting and thoughtful movie. Like everyone pretends it's just like this the shoot 'em up kind of thoughtless zombie movie, quote unquote, of the franchise. But like I don't think that at all. I think it's pretty thoughtful and like deals with how governments would actually look at a situation like this and how they would view their people. I think it's very interesting. But you guys should definitely watch it.
Yeah, it's one I need to get around to.
That makes,
Yeah.
I feel like based off that description too, I would like it. Like my favorite part of We Bury the Dead was that the government caused the whole issue.
Yeah.
Like I just find like the government involvement
Definitely.
in zombie apocalypse very interesting. So I feel like that alone, and also like government incompetence and all that jazz is thematically very interesting to me. So feels like it could work for me. So I do have to watch it at some point. So my like before I think I finish the franchise before the next
Yeah,
film
definitely.
comes out, I'll definitely watch it. But let's talk about this film specifically because we've kind of talked around it thus far. We are going to start with our spoiler chat of the Bone Temple. So we can get started with what worked for us. Again, without spoiling the film. And what I will start with and say is that I do think that this film fixes some of the tonal inconsistencies from the first film, if that's a concern that you have. I feel like the tone is more consistent throughout this film. I do think this film overall is very funny, and it does obviously have its very dark moments as well, but it doesn't feel like as choppy to me in that regard.
Yeah, I get what you're going for there. For me, it's always tough to talk about non-spoilers, but I wanted to say I was really impressed with the level of violence that was in this and how scary that the violence was for me. I thought it really affected me, and I think being a horror movie person, content creator, whatever, that can be tough to do. So to have me kind of like squirming in my seat because of just some of the disgustingness and awfulness of the Jimmies, I really was affected and was impressed that it was able to move me.
Yeah.
Dan, what are you thinking?
I like I said, I mean, I guess I haven't said yet, but I did really like this. And I think at the core, at base level, I think it's just a really interesting look at how human beings respond to something this atrocious happening to the planet, and you basically just get kind of a front row seat to the best of humanity and the worst, and watching those two reactions side by side with two really good actors getting a lot of focus on them is a lot of fun. Both of those actors, I think, are having a lot of fun as they're performing as well, which kind of is infectious to watch, I think. But I think it's a really good just look at humanity, and I think it really is also a movie about therapy and treatment and healing, and I think it's very pro all of those things, and honestly feels fairly optimistic for Alex Garland, I think, when it comes down to it. So I was a big fan.
Yeah, I will echo a few things that you said. I think that the performances in this film are great. I like the performances in the first, but I like that we get an expanded role from Jack O'Connell in this film. Obviously, he's in the first for like a minute, but he has a great performance here. And like you said, he seems like he's having a ton of fun. He has so much charisma, and I'm so excited to see the future of his career because I really saw him for the first time last year. That I knew his name. And then obviously Ray Fiennes is incredible always. But like you mentioned, I do feel like this is a very pro-science, pro-medicine, pro-therapy storyline, especially like I enjoy that coming from a mental health background. And one of my like notes that I made when I posted like a really brief review is I wish all of my medical providers were Dr. Kelson. I feel like with some of like the medical stuff that I've had or like mental health, like I would be so much further along in my life if all of my doctors were this man. I do think that his characterization is just, it's so well done and so brilliant. And Ray Fiennes, I love you.
Well said.
Yeah, I know. I'm very articulate, aren't I? But I do really like that there is such like this contrast, like you said, between Jimmy and Kelson. Like we have all of this like gratuitous violence juxtaposed with like this very contemplative, kind, empathetic person, which is like you said is like the complete opposite.
And it's even more interesting that they are both protagonists of this movie. There's a word for that. I don't know if it's like it sounds like duo protagonist, but it's not that, deuteragonist or something. But basically, we have two people that we're following this whole time. Spike actually kind of becomes our the point of view, really, in some ways. Maybe not for the Kelson stuff, but we are seeing both of these characters not grow, but move towards each other until eventually they clash. Right? Like each thing is building up towards these coming to a head, and then Spike is kind of there to, I think, cause that final confrontation where I can't say anything yet. We're in spoilers, so my bad.
Yeah. I would also say like the first film is very much a Spike coming of age movie. Yes. It's Spike's movie versus this one
is Kelson's and
it's
Jimmy's.
Kelson's and Jimmy's, but I still, in a lot of ways, feel like this is Spike's franchise. I'm thinking we'll go back to a lot more of him in the third movie. Because I really feel like this movie...
I hope so, personally.
I feel like this movie is showing us, like, two very big influences in who Spike will become.
These are the angels and demons on Spike's shoulder. So,
yeah.
Like the two of them. Although I don't know if I would say Spike has really succumbed to any of Jimmy's evilness. So
no, but, like, I do think
maybe
what
it will
his experience
change him, though.
Yeah. Shape him, yeah.
So, I mean, those are the things that I would say. Like, I think you guys hit all of them, at least from a non-spoiler section.
I would also add that Jimmy's just Arrested Development is so...
Oh, it's fantastic.
Fun. Like, they do it in a really fun way. The Teletubbies sequence, the fact that they're, like, there's a Teletubbies joke sequence that is... funny and somehow also one of the most unsettling things that I've watched on a screen in the last year.
This movie you pointed out is like very funny. It toes that line of being very funny and then also just like pretty horrific throughout. So
yeah, I mean, I don't think Clockwork Orange is funny, but I feel like it reminded me a lot of that. Where like funny games. Like kind of like that sort of feel. That's kind of what it reminded me of with the Jimmys.
You were not the first person I've heard compare it to Clockwork Orange, so
yeah.
I think that's a great point.
Yeah, just be and also with how I mean how British it is, and yeah.
Do you have any other things that you would want to shout out that works really well for you that you can talk about without like blatantly spoiling the film?
I think from like a technical standpoint, it was shot by Sean Bobbitt, who also shot Hedda last year, and he's worked a lot with Nia throughout her career. He's also worked with Steve McQueen, who's great. I think he's British as well, British director. He shot Judas and the Black Messiah for Shock of King. He's a really good cinematographer, and I really like how this movie looks. And it also sounds great. The score is um, Hildur Gudendóttir, who's the Icelandic composer, who's like, I think she's one of the best composers that doesn't get like her name isn't necessarily top of mind. It's also hard to say, but um, it's not necessarily top of mind for people talking about great composers scoring films right now. But like she did the score for Tar and Women Talking and Joker. Um, uh, Also, she did the score for The Bride coming up this year.
Oh, hell yeah.
Um, and I believe she did the music for Chernobyl, I think, which was I think very good. So she's very talented.
I'm gonna need to remember that name because holy shit.
Yeah.
Because I had
Yeah,
no idea,
she
but all the things you named, I was like, okay, yep, good score, good score, good score.
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
and there's a lot more. And she's a cello player as well. Like she played the cello for Denis on Prisoners, Sicario.
Holy
She was playing
shit.
cello in The Revenant.
That's so cool.
The Arrival. Yeah, she's awesome. So that's kind of who I wanted to shout out a little bit.
That's a great shout. I do. It's so interesting how different the music is between the films. And obviously, like we've talked about, like the films are thematically doing something completely different. So I think it's very valid that like those choices are different. I like rewatching 28 years later today. I was like, holy shit, I love this score.
But
But
it's
I,
in your face, like the
but
rest
it
of the
is
movie.
very,
And
yes,
that
in your
is like a
face
very big
and
difference between the
aggressive.
movies. Is 28 years later is extremely in your face with everything. I think I even called it like as a joke maximalist light. Because and I'll go on record saying I actually do like maximalism. Hannah does not.
No, and it normally does
And
not.
maybe that was why years worked for me is I'm okay with this level of like almost maximalism. This one does not have it though because I said it's much more introspective. So I think it's fine to not be as in your face because it wants you to sit with these characters and
Yeah.
see why they are who they are and really learn who they are and what decisions they'll make. And I really liked seeing these very different people. So I think it
Yeah.
makes sense.
I think, yeah, stylistically, it entirely makes
Makes
sense,
sense,
the
yes.
choices that are being
I
made
think
in
it's
this film.
unfortunate for it though, is that for us at least, we are always going to be comparing it
Yeah.
to its predecessor, which had this not been as part of that franchise, I think, and I will say I liked Bone Temple. I did
Yeah,
not like
me
it as
too.
much as 20 years later. And I think it's because I'm comparing them. And had they not been in the same franchise, I would have never compared them and I would have thought this was even better, probably.
That's,
And
I
it's a
think, the
really
issue I'm
tough
having.
thing to
Yeah.
separate. And so if we're already getting into a couple things we'll complain about, I will say that is one of them is the comparison. And the second thing that didn't work for me for this, and like what really has kind of just left a bad mark on it for me, is it really felt like a bridge movie to me in a lot of ways. I really didn't feel a complete like beginning, middle, and end, and it almost felt like I was like building towards something that we got a little bit of, but then it ended, and I was like, oh, all right, like where are we going now? Which is good because I'm excited for the next one. But I unfortunately felt like I was longing for what was next instead of just enjoying what was in front of me.
Yeah.
So, but Dan, tell me why I'm wrong on that.
Or if he's wrong.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say wrong. I think what I would say, we do get. Are we still non-spoiler right now?
Yes, a
Yeah.
little bit.
But we're
We're
about
about
to
to be
be
so.
spoiling, so if you need to like finish a thought later, we can do that.
Yeah, I'll circle back. I think to that, but I think this movie does a whole lot with different characters and kind of brings them along really interesting arcs. And I think, I mean, this is kind of a full movie to digest the absurdity of the Jimmies that we got at the end of the first film. Um, I think, if I had a complaint, maybe I think I maybe wanted a little bit more about Jimmy Crystal and about the Jimmies and kind of like how they operate and why they operate. I felt like it was a little bit thin. Like I understand, but I kind of wanted a little bit more. And I think, we were talking about when you think about like the gnarliest scene in the movie, like, I definitely appreciated that. But when that was happening, I was like, I hope the whole movie isn't this because like I need more than just this. Like with how shallow all of this is, like I would like more than just violence for the sake of violence. Also, the opening scene in the pool is pretty gnarly too, and very like cold and like real violence, which was really well done. But anyway, I think I will have to address this maybe when we get into spoilers.
That's fine.
That's
I think I
valid.
totally agree with what you're saying about, though, I wanted more Jimmies.
Yeah,
I could have spent a little more time with them and understanding them and how they operate. And yeah, I mean, it maybe even a little more bombastic, them killing infected like they did at the end of the first one would have gone a long way for me in this movie. But all right, well, Hannah, unless there's anything you want to add.
Well, I guess before we enter the spoiler zone, one last question for you guys that's a pretty easy yes or no question is, would you recommend that people go see this film?
Definitely.
Yeah, it's an easy
Especially because
yes.
I will be seated for that third one.
It's an easy yes.
yeah, and
Like,
people
even
are
with my
sadly
complaints, yeah.
people are sadly not watching it, which
Yeah.
I'm like, I might make a video. Like, I made a video before this movie came out, and I was like, "Where the fuck is the marketing for this movie?" Because nobody knows it's coming out. And then it just kind of came out, and I made a video, and people were like, "Oh, this movie is what is this? Like, I saw this last year, it sucked," or "Oh, I liked it. Like, I saw it last year and I liked it." It's like, no, there's a new movie. Like, like what? Like nobody knows. Like, so many people commented on my stuff and were like, "I have no idea this was even coming out," and it's like, y'all spent $60 million on this movie. Like, market the fucking movie. It really boils my blood because like it's a good movie and like it's just not. No one's. It's on pace to flop pretty catastrophically. So like I don't know. I find it frustrating.
I completely agree. And you know why people aren't remembering? It's because stupid Stranger Things took 10 years to release 5 seasons of 8-episode television, and they did 2 back-to-back feature films within a year. All right. No one remembers you can do this. No one remembers the Pirates of the Caribbean days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I also I do think that they probably pushed this out a little fast. I was very curious as why they released it in January.
Because that's when the last one was released, right? They were doing almost a year cycle. When was the last one released?
It was in like the summer, I think, or like early.
Oh, I'm totally lost then.
Yeah, bro, you not
That
right.
it was a long year. 2025 just kept going.
So
It was
that
released
is-
on June
June.
20th.
So it was 6
Yeah.
months. Ah, well.
Yeah, I think
Even then,
it
though, that's
was-
incredible. Why not? Like, but January's dump year month usually. So
Yeah, so I feel like because it came out so fast and we're all still kind of like processing 2025 as a year in film, I feel like that did not help matters because we're like, yes, we're still talking about the first one, but I feel like they did not try to market this film at all. So between those two things, like we're just severely lacking.
which doesn't make sense because they already greenlit a third. It wasn't like, or maybe that's
Yeah.
why. Like, oh, we don't need to make money on this one because we already have the third.
Which
but
is
that
ridiculous.
Doesn't make
Because
sense
it's also
to me.
ridiculous because like the first one was so polarizing. 28 Years Later is a very polarizing movie, as you can even tell from the opinions of the people on this episode. People don't like that movie, so you really needed to
Market the
next one to get people's butts in seats. And
You want to know what
unfortunately,
it feels like to me? They just threw their hands up in the air and they were like, "Well, they didn't like it, so like I guess we're
wasn't even
screwed." Like
That wasn't even the case. I heard so many people love this movie or the first one. So
It's-
like,
yeah,
a lot,
maybe it
a
was
lot of people
50-50.
did like it's very
very
split
mixed.
and like even I mean one of my good friends and my podcast co-host Stone, like this is in his top 10 movies of the year last year.
It
Like,
was in both of ours also.
yeah,
So
yeah. People, I mean, I understand a lot of people really liked it, but it 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 felt like a movie more for critics than general audiences, I think. Um, and I could be wrong on that, but that's kind of my read. And I think a lot of people, I'm actually curious. Yeah, so Rotten Tomatoes, 88%, critics, 63%, which isn't
Yeah.
bad, for what Rotten Tomatoes is worth, which is very little. But
this blows
um,
my mind though to think about like a zombie movie being for critics, not for general audience. A zombie movie that was like, we're gonna do some crazy experimental iPhone shots. So when an arrow goes through a zombie's head, you get a moving shot of still frame to see the other side of it. And like to me that feels like audience bait. Like that's like crazy effects and props and camera work that someone who likes action movies would enjoy. So I don't know. It just
yeah,
I don't get it, to be honest. Like what drew people into either of these, or what didn't draw them in, really. So
Well, it just goes to show you need to actually fucking market your
I
movie.
think that might be it.
Is a massive piece, especially when you spent, like Dan said, how many fucking millions of dollars.
And you've already greenlit a third.
60.
It's not
Yeah, 60.
Yeah,
unless they're gonna be like, oh, this one didn't do well, we're gonna ungreenlight the third, which
I
I'll
would
riot.
cry.
Yeah.
I would sob uncontrollably, I fear. Okay, well,
Yeah, let's get into spoilers.
Now we're entering the spoiler zone. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the spoiler zone. After this point, you're going to hear some things that you might not want to hear.
Dan, you want to go first on our 15-second summaries?
Yeah, yeah. I think, should I just go for it?
Yeah, whenever
Yeah.
I'll hit the timer whenever you start.
Okay. I think 28 years later, The Bone Temple is kind of like I said earlier, but just a movie about how two very different human beings react to the end of the world. One of them seeing an opportunity to destroy, and one of them seeing an opportunity to try to heal and still be human.
Pretty dang good. A little over 15, but we'll give it to you.
if you
sorry.
talked slightly faster, it would have been 15. It's
Yeah.
fine, bro. We all need to
Sorry,
think.
guys.
You've let us
You're
down.
good. You're good. Matthew,
I can do
All right.
better.
well, the summary itself was good.
It was good.
I don't
Yeah,
have a joke either, so...
You just gotta, I don't even know.
Shit, fuck.
Are you ready?
Okay.
3, 2, 1, go.
Spikes hangs out with a really evil, fucked up dude and his buddies, and then he hangs out with a really old, nice dude, and then they listen to Iron Maiden, and then it ends.
This is pretty good. Are you ready for mine?
Yeah.
I got a joke. All right.
Okay.
Ray Fiennes hangs dong, and I don't remember anything else.
It's a good summary.
It was very important to me. We were literally smacking each other in the theater. We were like, oh my God. Because Dan, you probably don't know, but Hannah and I have a recurring bit in the podcast and in life where we want more men to do full frontal nudity in movies.
But we
Okay.
specifically like to phrase it hang
Dong. We want more men to hang dong in movies. Mostly because I think like it's been an expectation placed on women in the industry
Yeah.
a lot. So I
Yes.
think it's kind of fucked up that men don't as much. And so when they're like, yeah, sure, I will, I think that's awesome. And I like when writers put it in there. So Ray Fiennes, I hope that was not a prosthetic, you know?
If it is, I'm mad it
no,
looked
he's a
little
coward
large.
if it's prosthetic,
Okay,
you know?
no, he's not. It's still having a good effect for me. I still liked it.
So
It's funny.
yes.
It's funny you guys say that because I think like it is something that isn't really talked about enough. And like there's certain movies like Die My Love last year is the movie like it's a movie. Did you guys see that?
I did not. Oh, you did?
I did.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Like Jennifer Lawrence is naked so much, and Robert Pattinson is not. And I'm just
No.
like, isn't this kind of that movie really set me off in a variety of ways? But I found it odd the amount of that in that movie. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think that's valid. I feel like I watched it while I was working, so I'm like, did I probably missed some of the nudity, frankly, but no, I do think there are issues with that film. There were things I did like about it, and I think Jennifer Lawrence is great, but if you want to watch a movie that is doing what that movie thinks it's doing, but better. Watch If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, everyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Incredible.
love that movie. So
Rose
that was
Byrne.
also in my top 10.
Rose Byrne. If I chose who got the Oscar, it would be you. All right. So
cool.
Matt, give us
the
full plot
Full
summary.
plot's coming. Sorry, Dan. I will. So I speed read these, so I'll be as quick as possible. All right, cool. So shortly after being rescued by Sir Jimmy Crystal, Spike is initiated into the group following a forced fight to the death with Jimmy Shite. Sir Jimmy renames Spike Jimmy after our boy Spike beats Jimmy Shite. Kills him. So, meanwhile, Dr. Ian Kelson continues interacting with the local alpha he named Samson. Samson keeps returning to the Bone Temple, with Kelson deducing that he has grown addicted to the effects of the sedative from his blowpipe and is intentionally letting himself be drugged, becoming more lucid while under its influence. A friendship between the two forms, with Samson no longer feeling a compulsion to attack Kelson. Kelson considers euthanizing Samson until he hears the alpha mutter the word moon. The Jimmies raid a farm inhabited by survivors, including a man named Tom and his pregnant partner Kathy. Kathy escapes while others are captured, with Sir Jimmy ordering the Jimmies to skin alive the remaining survivors as a sacrifice to Satan, whose voice Sir Jimmy claims to hear and who he thinks is his dad. Sir Jimmy offers Tom a place among his Jimmies if he wins a fight to the death. Tom selects Jemima as his opponent, believing her to be the weakest member, but is quickly outmatched as Jemima prepares to kill Tom. Kathy emerges from her hiding spot in the barn's loft and swings a hook that kills her. In the resulting confusion, Tom manages to set the barn on fire, killing a Jimmy and burning several others before being killed himself. As Kathy flees, Sir Jimmy dispatches Spike to capture. Instead, Spike begs Kathy to take him with her. She feigns her agreement, then incapacitates Spike when his guard is down and successfully escapes. Sir Jimmy lashes out at Spike for his failure to capture Kathy. Jimmy Inc. intercedes, believing that Kelson is Satan because of his orange-dyed skin and interactions with Samson, and suggests that they visit him. Leading the survivors to the Bone Temple, Sir Jimmy confronts Kelson alone and threatens to kill him if he does not impersonate Satan in order to maintain the illusion for the Jimmies. At the Bone Temple, Kelson, fearing the worst, gives Samson a cocktail of antipsychotics, suspecting that the hyperaggression of the infected is actually caused by psychosis. Following this, Samson is drawn to the nearby abandoned train where he was initially infected. He hallucinates, experiencing memory from riding the train in his childhood. In his hallucination, he is approached by a train guard asking for his ticket. When he tells her, "I don't have a ticket," aloud, the infected in the train car attack him. That night, Kelson plays along with Sir Jimmy's plan to regain control over the Jimmies by impersonating Satan through a pyrotechnical-laden performance. However, upon recognizing Spike, Kelson attempts to persuade the gang to crucify Sir Jimmy to save Spike. Sir Jimmy, seeking to end the ruse that Kelson is Satan and avoid crucifixion, fatally stabs Kelson, only for Spike to then stab Sir Jimmy as Ink kills the other remaining Jimmies. Spike comforts the dying Kelson while Ink impales Sir Jimmy on an inverted cross. Spike and Ink, who reveals her name to be Kelly, leave into the wilderness. Samson arrives and greets the dying Kelson by name and thanks him. After Kelson succumbs to his wounds, his body is carried away by Samson while Sir Jimmy is left nailed to the cross. Sometime later, Kelly and Spike are attempting to escape a group of infected. Unaware, they are observed by Jim from the first movie, 28 Days Later, and his daughter Sam, who rush to help them. And that's the end of the movie. And wow, there are too many Jimmies, too many Samsons to say over and over again.
Yeah, too many
That was a tough one.
So many Jimmies.
So, let's get into these spoilers.
Do we want to go back to what we were discussing
before
about...
Dan had to stop, so Dan, I'll give you the floor.
Yeah, I was going to say, we get the entire kind of arc for Sir Lord Jimmy Crystal and an entire arc for Ian Kelson kind of fully played out, and I think the movie very carefully builds them both up and shows you spend a lot of time with both of them, and then you kind of get this really nice climactic conversation between the two that I think, kind of shows you everything the movie has to say and is trying to do. And then after that, you get what I think will be one of the most memorable kind of set pieces of the year, especially musically with the Iron Maiden, sequence.
Temple performance.
Yeah, which was a lot of fun. I have a couple. I think I might have more gripes from a studio perspective than anything, but like the image of Ralph Fiennes doing that performance is all over the marketing materials. It's on the poster. That is stupid. That is dumb. Like that is bad like that should be a reveal. Like it shouldn't be an image that's even in your head. Like because that sequence I think should be a complete surprise because it's a lot of fun, and I compared it to Marvel using Harrison Ford's Red Hulk out of
Oh, that was
desperation,
stupid.
like, and then the movie builds up to a twist that you already know, like the reveal. So, and that would have been really like that movie was terrible in my opinion, but that would have been at least been a cool moment. But you already know because it's plastered all over marketing because they're so desperate to get you to watch the movie. So like, please stop doing that. Like, I wish that wasn't a thing.
I
Because I kept,
completely agree.
yeah,
And yet, have you considered that that poster is rad as fuck?
yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's.
but like,
I agree. But I also love the poster so much that I'm like, fuck, I don't know what to do with that. But yes, in general, totally agree. I think, especially on the Captain America Red Hulk thing, that was absolutely insane and ridiculous.
And it didn't even get
Boo.
me in the seat, so
It didn't.
I never saw it.
It didn't.
good,
And it would have.
good.
But
Thank you.
but I do think that's a massive issue with marketing nowadays. We've talked about that on the pod a ton. Like with Companion last year, they spoiled like the first big twist of the movie
Yeah,
in all
yeah.
of the advertising. And even if that would have been like a very quick, easy guess while watching the film, y'all did not need to do that to me. So yeah, I do think that that is a general issue throughout the film, and it is kind of sad that the coolest scene in the movie is like we kind of have some idea of going in. So like the whole movie,
I
I
would
was
say
waiting for something to be on fire.
Luckily, it really was just a poster, at least from what I
Yeah,
saw.
I didn't
So I
watch
didn't
any
feel
ads,
that
so.
it completely like destroyed the moment. But Dan, I wanted to comment on something you said because I hadn't thought about it this way. You could probably argue the actual climax of the movie is not the Iron Maiden scene, but that conversation between Jimmy
Yeah.
and Kelson.
Yeah.
And really, the falling action of the movie would be the Iron Maiden scene and leaving. And maybe that's what I'm missing a feeling of a little bit because we have this Iron Maiden scene happen and then it's like, oh, the movie's over. Like I'm getting to this, what feels like everything's getting going and then it's done. But really, it's that introspective scene between the two of them that tells you everything you need to know. And that is like your final moment and everything else that everything's fallen into place and everything after that is already going to happen.
Yeah, and I
Like,
do think with a film like this, it is uncommon for your climax to be something so calm and introspective. So I think that could be like a big part of.
the only wrinkle really is the Spike thing, Kelson finding Spike. Spike, Hannah was yelling and not whispering to me
not
was
yelling.
like, Spike, just tell him it's you. And I was like, he's trying to protect him. Like Spike is
Like, dog,
that was like a
take
big
off
thing
your
he like
motherfucking
learned
mask,
and like
bro.
what he wanted to be was he was like, I need to be on my own for a little bit at the end of that one. He was like, I need to figure out who I want to be. And in that moment, he's like, I don't want Kelson to get hurt. And I think that's awesome. But also, dude, you were in over your head, Spike.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's really the only shakeup. Like that, the real climax is the two of them there, and you kind of know one of them is going to die, or both of them are going to die after that, because this is a movable object and unstoppable force type of feeling of these two characters. Which is a funny way to put it, but I'll say it.
And I loved that conversation
great.
so much.
Yeah.
Obviously, it helps that they're both incredible performers, but I do think I just love the moment where you can very clearly see Kelson considering all of these things that Jimmy is saying about his worldview based off, like, he experienced the starting of an apocalypse essentially when he was a child, so he is still operating, like I said, under this like arrested development. He is still operating based off this worldview that he developed when he was like 7. And I loved the moment of Dr. Kelson kind of like coming to that realization, and that was just such a like an entertaining conversation. But I loved how like thoughtful he was in his responses to Jimmy even so.
Yeah, and we kind of talked about earlier. I think it's just it's therapy. Like he's asking him these like probing questions and just kind of letting him go until he kind of ends the conversation with a threat of violence, and then he's kind of like, all right, this is what it is. But I think you see, I mean, he's just when you look at like like sociopaths or like antisocial kind of personalities, like they're just stuck as little kids. Like that's all it is. Um, and those people can go on to do terrible, heinous things, but like it's a mindset of just thinking about yourself and um, being unable to have empathy or put yourself in others' shoes, and like that's what Kelson's all about. But that's all you're seeing from Jimmy Crystal, and he's literally modeled himself physically after someone he didn't even know was a pedophile, like because that didn't come out for another 10 years until, like when the virus happened, everyone still thought Jimmy Savile was Mr. Rogers in England. Like that's what this and that's who he's modeled himself after, not knowing, what he was actually doing to kids. And then he creates this system of, you know, abusing and manipulating kids. And it's all horrifying, but it's just because he got stuck in this, terrible place. And he's pretty much a religious cult leader. The religion just happens to
Mm-hmm.
be Satanism. Like, but at
Yes.
that point, it doesn't matter if it's Judaism or Islam or Christianity or Satan. It's all, when it gets twisted and warped, it's all bad. Like
Yeah.
that's
Now,
what it is.
something throughout, this is more just discussion about Jimmy as a character. There are moments where I'm like, oh no, he's doing this just to like lead the cult. Like when he goes to talk to Kelson, or before he's even talking to him, it seems like he knows he's lying about Satan being his dad. But then later he's like, I am hearing these voices and he is my dad. And I can't really get a vibe on, okay, is Jimmy just making all this up to keep control and stay in power? Or does he truly believe it? Or is it somewhere in between?
It's in
Yeah, like
between.
there are certain.
It's in between.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's kind of where I think too. I think like the hearing voices, I was like, oh, is he experiencing religious psychosis here? Like,
He needs some of the same
fascinating.
treatment Samson's getting, you know?
Yes. And like when he says that he's hearing voices, the look that Kelson gives him is
Yeah, that was kind of
amusing to me.
the twist for me, because prior to talking to Kelson, he's like, that can't, he sees him and he's like, okay, the ruse is up. I have to like make this work. And he's like, clearly, he's like talking in a way that's so suspicious, but all of his followers are so dumb. Dumb might not be the right word, but they're so loyal to him that they don't realize. And so I thought he was faking up until the part where he told Kelson about it.
No, I take it as kind of an in between as well. Like
Okay.
I do think like this is his worldview, which is modeled after what he witnessed when everything started with his dad. Like I do genuinely believe that he believes that, but I also think that he doesn't want his followers to realize that he might not be as knowledgeable
Got
or
it.
aware.
He wants
as
to
he
stay in
thinks.
power,
Yeah.
but also.
So like there is that level of manipulation.
Okay,
there.
that's kind of where
to
I
me.
came to that conclusion, but I was just curious what you guys were.
Yeah.
So.
And
I mean, I think he's a schizophrenic who, in between bouts of schizophrenia, is like, I'm not really sure what's going on, but I'm just gonna kind of like make it up. Like,
That's another good read, and that makes him even scarier, to be honest.
yeah.
yeah,
Like someone that's already violent and now also has paranoid schizophrenia. Like, yikes. Well, he's a good character.
Yeah. And it does make me wonder what comes next for his story.
I knew you were gonna
since
ask that,
We
so.
don't see him die on screen, obviously. So yeah, and we're seeing someone who is having psychosis be treated with medication, and who is now much more lucid and calm and healthier seemingly. And so I do wonder what they will do to continue to contrast those characters in the next film, if he's even there. But I will say, if he is dead, I think I would be a little disappointed, because I just like Jack O'Connell and I want more because he was barely in the first one.
I am like, I want him back, but thematically, I don't know if it
works.
makes
Yeah.
sense.
Exactly.
And Dan, I kind of want your thought on that if you have any.
I think his story should end exactly how it ended. I think it was a satisfying ending. I think it was like well executed. I think this third movie, the things I see from the third movie happening are, I think you need to close the loop from the first film with Aaron Taylor Johnson. I think
Yes.
you've allowed Spike to grow. I think you've seen him have this sort of interaction with another abuser now in Jimmy. You've had him had an interaction with someone who was kind in the last film with Kelson. I think you're probably going to see him, I'm assuming, develop some sort of fatherly bond with, Kelson, God bless him, but he's out of his fucking mind too. Like he's not someone that should be raising raising a child. So like maybe Jim will be this sort of like an actual healthy father figure, and then maybe you reintroduce, I'm going to forget Aaron Taylor Johnson's name, but
I
his
know.
character. Um, and the other portion of that is the village has Samson's child. So if you bring
Yes.
Samson back, there's another fatherhood arc there to be explored. And um, Stone doesn't think they're bringing Samson back. Why the fuck would they not bring Samson back? Like, like
They have
he's
to,
very
the
like,
baby.
yeah. It doesn't make any sense to not. Um, I think that's your story, and maybe it's a story about Spike accepting his father or not, and I don't know. I think also we haven't talked about her, but Erin Kellyman was really good, and I liked. I think she is the X factor of this movie. I think she's kind of like a linchpin that it hangs on. Like that, if she gave a bad performance, the movie would be a lot worse. But she's very good.
Definitely.
She's really good with Spike, and it's nice kind of seeing someone else in the Jimmys. With a little bit of a soul and a spirit and a mind of their own. I think, like you guys kind of mentioned, the whole movie is kind of a battle for Spike's soul, and she's kind of, again, a factor in between where if she pushed him in a bad direction, he might have tipped that way, but she doesn't, and she, they kind of keep each other alive and sane. So I like that a lot.
Yeah, I did really like her and I felt her compelling, so I am very excited to see where she comes in the next film. And I hadn't really recognized her from anything, and then I looked at her Wikipedia and I was like, oh,
Did
well,
did you
hello.
I haven't
watch
looked yet.
Did you watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
Nope.
Yeah,
Oh, wait, we did. Shit.
I blacked
Wait.
out that whole show.
I literally forgot we watched it.
I blacked it out,
Yeah.
and then I looked at her and I was like, "Oh, I've literally seen her in that."
Wait, that's so
and
funny.
That's why I know her face. But like,
Yeah, her writing was strange in that. That's a strange show in a lot of ways,
Yes,
but her
it
writing
was
is not good.
yeah. I will circle back a little to predictions for the next film because I did want to talk about what Matt thought this film would be
Oh,
about.
and I have predictions for the next
It's
based on
very
some of the
funny.
stuff Dan said. So
Yeah.
we can do that again. But
What else did I want to talk about? How do we feel about the shift from focusing on Spike to centering the story more on Jimmy and Kelson instead?
I think we kind of hit that already, though.
Yeah.
It's more, I've said they're the angel and devil on his shoulder.
Yeah, I do think we.
I wish we saw Spike do something kind of evil in this movie, to be honest, because I think that would have driven that point home a little bit more. If like we saw him succumb to some of the temptation of this shitty life that the Jimmys are living, where I felt like he didn't really at all, and so I don't think it's as compelling from that point. But like, I think it makes total sense to do this.
Yeah, I agree. I was happy with it.
Yeah. Yeah, it is very interesting that, like, having this influence of Jimmy, like, I feel like it wants you to think about, like, these are two people who are very much affecting him. Like you said, Angel Devil. Like, will he embrace violence? And then he just doesn't. Do you feel like there's a regression of his character arc in this film at all? Because I have seen people say that, and I do kind of feel like he gets a little more timid in this movie compared to where he ended at the end of the first one.
That is something I did feel, yes. But I also understand why, and I don't want to say it's like that they forgot. I feel like it seems clear that he is under duress in a different way now. And while he can handle himself, he is faced with an actual evil cult. Like pretty black and white evil, at least like Jimmy is. Or the Jimmy, Sir Lord Jimmy Crystal. And so I think he is kind of being smart and playing this smart and remaining like cautious. So I don't know.
I also think like there's another angle you have to consider, which is this is different violence. Like I think a lot of what the first movie is about is like the dehumanization of the infected and the entire attitude towards them, and it becomes pretty easy to just kind of kill them. And even in this film, you see him completely annihilate an infected person and
Hmm.
stab them like 80 times. Like I don't think that's a problem for him, but like it's a different level of violence when he's confronted with just evil human on human sadistic violence. So I think it kind of like resets his, you know, maybe tolerance to like I think it makes sense. It's not the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm following you completely. I guess I understand the complaint people had, but I think it's partially this isn't Spike's movie, so
Hmm.
he almost does seem to stay still within his character growth because it's not about his growth. Now we have to take all of this from this one and see how it affects him for the next. And again,
Yeah.
whatever Jim gives him as well, and what Kelly gives him. So I am excited though. I will say that.
Since you just brought up Jim, how do we feel about Jim's introduction into the 28 Years trilogy? Because I kind of felt like it was like jingling keys in front of a baby. However, I was also like, hell yeah, buddy. Because I am
Yeah.
baby.
I thought it was a little bit jarring. I think in the
Hmm.
see like funny enough, very similar to the end of the first movie. I was just like when we just talked about the movie, you said this, but like if you cut off the end of the first movie and stick it to the beginning of this movie, and then if you cut off the end of this movie and just stick it to the next movie, both the movies are better. Like I would assume. Like I just think it felt very tonally different, and I can appreciate what they were doing with the history lesson and all, but I just was like, I don't know. I It was a little jarring to me.
Yeah.
So personally, what I've really liked about both the first one and this one is they are not falling for the typical legacy sequel bullshit.
Hmm.
And so to see Jim show up, while I like that character, I am like, okay, well, are we gonna do this shit now? Like I don't really want it. I'm
Yeah.
not interested in having him in further movies. However, I trust Garland and Danny Boyle.
That's
And so, like, if they thought it was the right call, I can't really judge until I see it. But I would say my expectations, while I'm excited for this movie, this is a concerning plot point for me, is what I would say.
Yeah, I feel like fans obviously wanted him back, but I don't think they would have added him to this film if they did not have a valuable story
I
arc
hope.
for the character.
Or is it to get butts and seats because they don't want to advertise? So they're just going to advertise Killian Murphy for this next one.
I
All the
don't
time.
think so. I don't think they would
I'm
have done
being
that.
cynical.
Yeah, I know. I know you are, and I
Yeah,
think
but
that's
like that's real
valid
too.
and
I mean,
fair.
yeah.
We'll see, but I just feel like there's got to be something more that his character is here to add to Spike's overall narrative.
I think another part of it, though, was because, and I said this to you afterwards, I never knew what ending of 28 Days Later was canon. And I kind of liked that.
Well, it's
Like
the
there's
one that
somewhere
they.
he dies, there's somewhere he makes it. There's like four different endings to that movie that have been made, and so I kind of liked it being open ended.
I thought the canon ending was that he lived.
I never know because there was, I mean, yeah, the theatrical ending was that he lived.
Yeah,
but
so that is what.
that's not how that works. If you're gonna rewrite 28 weeks, you can do whatever you want.
I guess that's
Yeah.
true.
That was
sure.
kind of my point. Is I liked the ambiguity of the ending of the original. So, but that's fine. I'm not going to complain about retconning.
So we have kind of throughout this discussion talked a lot about what this movie means and what it's doing, like with Spike's coming of age journey, pro mental health treatment, like the consequences of following a cult-like religious structure that's using its religious beliefs to
as
harm.
Dan said it, but how the two different people react to the end of the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do we have anything more we want to add to that discussion, or do we feel like we kind of hit the priority themes and messages of the film?
I personally got nothing else. So whatever you guys have.
Dan,
Yeah,
anything?
I think we kind of hit everything. I just, what's funny is the movie kind of shows you it kind of makes sense. You understand how someone could look at a situation like this and be like, maybe this is the plan of Satan, like, and maybe believe it. Like you kind of see how someone could fall for that because some people just like to be able to tell themselves that there's a plan. And I think something that could have been interesting with this film, and Ray Fiennes literally makes a joke and says, "Oh, it's an atheist talking to a Satanist." Like that's a joke in the film, and like I think it could have been interesting to see a Christian or really any someone of any like really major religion who has a positive faith and having the mindset of there is a plan here, but it's not an evil plan that's going well. It's an uncomfortable plan that's still being executed, and having that type of faith and seeing that juxtaposed, I think that could have been cool. Um, but I still think it's a movie that shows you how people are kind of pulled into that way of thinking. It's just kind of funny using Satanism rather than like a typical religion you might see.
And I do feel like that's kind of intentional. It's like Book of Mormon, right? Like they're trying to criticize religious institutions, and so they picked a religion that they thought people would be okay with making fun of. And
Yeah.
I feel like in this, they're like, well, if we say that someone comes from any sort of Christian background, for example, and is doing harmful things and kind of having a cult of personalities that is somehow Christian oriented, that's not gonna fly. So
That would have
we'll
hit so hard, though. Could you imagine if that's scarier than someone being a Satanist and being like, this is the work of
but-
Satan? That makes more sense than someone being like, this is all of God's plan. Just trust in him, and just like giving themselves up to get infected because that's God's plan. Or
Yeah.
getting other people to be like, join us, and infecting them. That is way scarier.
I know, but I also don't think that I think it reads better with it being a Satanist compared to an atheist instead of a
Fine.
Christian compared to an atheist. But I think in essence, it's might as well be functionally the same
I
thing.
gotcha.
It's like if you're using your religion or any beliefs that you have to enact violence on other people versus like that's not chill, bro.
Astute point.
I know.
Yeah.
I lost what word I was trying to say, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna finish
what people are
this
here for,
in the
you
most
know?
literate way I can.
We've been using our brain muscles a little too hard today, so.
I just get nervous when we have guests, and I stop knowing how to talk. Well, I get nervous on the mic. Period. I just don't know how to talk.
We've been doing this for like 2 years plus.
Dog, I don't know what's wrong with me.
alright.
It hasn't gotten better.
I also will say just quickly, like on the topic we're talking about, like I think this is how you're supposed, like if you want to write something and not have half the world freak out and piss their pants that you criticize them, like this is an interesting angle where you can like it's approachable to everyone, and anyone regardless of their faith can watch it and not feel necessarily targeted, but like maybe they'll absorb it, and that's the hope. But I think it's the smart way to write, if maybe not the most maybe it's not what we're looking. Some people are looking for something blunter to reinforce their opinion, but there's a lot of movies I kind of feel that way about, like the movie Warfare from last year. Like people wanted it to be like the war in Iraq was bad, and it's just like, well, if you watch the fucking movie, it does tell you that without spoon feeding it to you. Like everything doesn't have to be beating you over the head. Like I just
Yeah, you're right. I kind of liked Warfare too, so.
yeah, I think it's I don't want to go off on a tangent about that, but I just think
No, I gotcha. That was a movie I did feel conflicted about from that angle because I saw both sides of that argument.
and I get it.
will
I
not-
get it. But to me, it's a movie that like it's just there's no mission, there's no bad guy, there's no evil plan. It's just a family in a house. Let's take that house because we can, and then let's leave them in rubble.
And
the
war
movie
as hell.
ends. Like, and the family is the constant in the film. So I just
I totally see that. Okay,
So I'm going to ask two quick questions. We don't need to elaborate too much because we've already been yapping for a while, but real quick, favorite scenes? Is it going to be the same for all of us? Because
I do love the Iron Maiden.
I have to say the Iron Maiden scene.
I think I might say their climactic talk before.
Oh,
the
I
Iron
love
Maiden
that
scene.
too. Yeah.
So
Great scene.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I also, I mean, I like the whole scene in the barn house with the family with the Dipsy dance. Like that was very uncomfortable.
Incredibly unsettling.
Yeah, very funny gamesy, and I like that movie a lot, and I thought that was good. And like I said, the opening is really strong, like to just show how little he actually respects these people, and how bought in they all are to the point that they'll just start killing each other at a whim. And I thought that
Yes.
was very upsetting.
Yes. Totally agree. Dan, we can start with you for this one. What is your biggest hot take on this film or film series as a whole?
I think this is the best one of them all. I think that's maybe a hot take, and I think like we talked about it earlier, but I just think 28 years later, 28 days later is just okay. It's one of those movies I respect more than I like. But yeah, I guess my hot take is that this is my personal favorite, and I also am anticipating the next movie to be pretty bad. So
Oh no!
Oh, so that's a hot take.
Yeah, hot
yeah,
take. The next one will be bad.
I'm
yeah,
really holding out hope.
I'm hoping. Fingers
yeah.
crossed.
Anything can happen.
I generally,
Do you have a hot take for this one, Hannah? Because I can't even think of one today.
my hot takes were kind of in a similar vein of Dan's, which is one that 28 days is actively fine and looks like it's filmed on a toaster, and which I will say forever and ever. And my other hot take is that 28 years later is better than this film. But
That would
I
be my
know
hot take.
I am in the minority with that one. I really do think, like, if the experimental nature and, like, the maybe like tonal inconsistencies, if that's what you want to call it, of the first one, like if all of that works for you, the
You're not
jerky
gonna like,
editing,
yeah.
the soundtrack, like it's kind of like very heavy-handed in a lot of ways. If you don't like that, Bone Temple has so much to offer you that you will like so much more. And I think if you do really like that, even though I think there are valid reasons for the choices being very different in this film, thematically, if you liked that, this is different. So you just might not like
It's
this as
yes,
much.
yeah. I completely agree.
But I still think that even if you like the first one, you're gonna like this movie. I don't.
Yeah, I would
sure.
think so. I mean,
Yeah.
that's where you and I are.
Yeah. So
All right, tell me what my prediction was for this movie from 6 months ago that I don't remember at all.
Matt thought that there would be a storyline related to the unsettling nature of Spike's community. For example, all of the creepy masks.
I forgot about that.
Matt was like, something's wrong in this community.
I stand by it. Maybe that's what this next one's going to be about. There was some cult shit going on their island. I totally forgot. Do you remember that, Dan?
Vaguely, yes, yes, I do. Yeah.
I wonder if
Yeah, there was
they
like
will
weird
contrast like
stuff. Jimmy's gang.
Jimmy's cult
Okay.
gang with the cult-like practices on the island.
Well,
if that's what
yes,
they were going
I
for
hope.
with that. That would be interesting.
let me make a prediction then for
Okay,
this
go
next one
ahead.
because I do think that's still a thing. So I'm gonna run with a couple things Dan said. I think the theming of this next one's going to be about fatherhood and about breaking generational trauma. So obviously Spike's got a baby, and I think he's going to steal that baby back from the community, and we're going to learn something new about his community that's bad or puts them somewhere, between Kelson and between the Jimmies, somewhere on the spectrum of nastiness. So that's gonna be part of it. I think maybe we're gonna have. I don't know how much I want Jim in it, so I don't know if I want to say too much. But maybe it's him and Kelly are gonna have to steal this baby back, and he's gonna break the cycle of abuse that he's taken from his father and from Jimmy, and take Kelson's lessons and implement it on his new found family. That's kind of the gist of it. I'm excited. I really do hope his community is doing some weird cult shit that makes them like a compelling bad guy. Because like to make his dad the actual lead bad guy would be kind of sweet. And I thought Aaron Taylor Johnson was actually good in this movie, or the first one, and I don't particularly like him.
I feel like it's that and Nocturnal Animals are my favorite
Yes, I always
Aaron
forget about
Taylor
him.
Johnson movies. I think, and everything else he is mid to shit. So, at least in my experience, he's not my guy.
Dan, you agreed?
I'm not the biggest fan of his. Something I thought was a shame was like I thought Craven the Hunter was like sort of fun. Like I like that movie more than a lot of people. I think it's the best movie of the dog shit ass Sony movies of all those. Like, and I kind of liked him in that role. I wish they had considered putting Craven in the first Black Panther movie, which I wish he could have been in something like that. Because it's a great character. Anyway, I don't think he's a great actor. I think he's like a handsome, charismatic guy that they just kind of throw in things, and I don't think they necessarily always know how to use him. But there are roles for him, and I agree. I was excited that he was so good in the first movie, and then I was like invested in that story, and then I was like, and it's gone. So, um,
So
yeah. I also
do you have any predictions?
for the third movie.
Yeah.
I feel like everything I kind of said earlier.
Yeah.
The only other thing I think could be interesting is if Spike and Aaron Kellyman's Jimmy, I forget her real name, if
Kelly.
Kelly maybe hide, their past or what they were doing from Jim, and then maybe you have them run back into one of the loose hanging threads from this movie, which is the woman who was pregnant, and she goes, "Get away from me. These people tried to kill me. What are you doing with them?" to Jim, and
Ooh.
then Jim has to go, "Huh?" and has a moral dilemma. I think that could be kind of cool. Um, the only other thing I wanted to say all my other thoughts I feel like I said, but something that could have been kind of funny with this movie is if Kelson had actually been Satan. I think that could have been. It's sort of a. Have you guys seen the Wailing?
Yes.
Yeah, like sort of like that, where at the end it's like, "Yep, I'm him." Like you're right. I think that could have been pretty funny, but I don't know if people would have liked that very much. But that thought went through my mind.
I would have been so in on that.
I would have
to
been
be
gagged,
honest.
yeah.
Yeah. I think that would have worked for me.
Yeah.
Well, I love Ray Fiennes, so let that man cook. I don't really care.
That's
what,
something. He had. This is what sucks. It's not that the movie sucks. Something that sucks about the movie, though, is I love Jimmy as a character, and I love Kelson as a character, and I know that their stories are over, but I'm just so sad that they're gone. So
yeah.
like
Yeah.
I just want more of both of them, and that's
Yep.
you joked about jingling keys in front of the baby, and it just worked for me in this. So
Yeah.
just I don't want them to go away, and they need to.
Rest easy, boys. Okay, so we're gonna wrap this up with a ranking and some ratings. So first, what is our ranking of the films in the series thus far? Obviously, like we mentioned, Matt and I have not seen Weeks, but we've seen Days, Years, and Bone Temple. So Matt, give us your ranking from worst to best.
Years, Bone Temple, Days.
I
Or
said
other way.
worst
That was
to
the other
best.
way. Yeah. Sorry, other way around. Days is the worst, which is crazy. Probably Weeks, but I haven't seen it, so I can't say. Dan likes it. Days, then I have Bone Temple, and then I have Years as my favorite.
Damn. I was hoping yours would be different from mine, but it's not. Same. All right, Dan, you're going to be the fun one, so go ahead.
My least favorite is Years, and then Days, and then 28 Weeks Later, and then this is my favorite, Bone Temple.
Nice.
Hell yeah. All right, what would your rating be on a scale of 1 to 10, Dan?
For this movie,
Yes.
I gave it a 4.5, so a 9. I really liked it. Yeah.
That's a good score.
I, right now, am sitting at around an 8, but my score of the first of Years changed when I rewatched it, I think, and when I thought about it more, so I think there's full potential for that to happen with this one. Because I'm still in such like a comparative mode.
For me, I upon finishing it gave it a 7 out of 10. I think upon rewatch, I will most likely bump it up.
Yeah.
Just based on discussion and based on not having the expectations I had because of years.
I agree.
I think that it'll change. And I kind of just know that about myself after seeing it. And so I didn't dislike it. It just like wasn't what I was expecting. So
Yeah.
and that's not always a bad thing. So, but
Yeah.
sometimes that skews me.
Yeah. No, I'm excited to like rewatch the movie without
I
expectations.
kind of want
and
to see them
like,
back to
take-
back, to be honest.
Well, no, I really want to. I really want to watch the Bone Temple on its own
Okay.
and like think about it as a more independent piece of art because I think I'll like it more
Okay.
that way.
I was almost like I was saying earlier about the Kill Bill Volume 1 versus Volume 2, where I almost feel like watching them with an intermission would really work for me. But
Sure, babe.
know.
If that's what you need, you do that. And our final rating scale, the Dalton endorsement scale, as I'm trying to call it, but Matt Dalton doesn't like that thus far, I don't think. Our -5 to 5 scale, where our scores more specifically reflect how much we recommend this film, taking into consideration our personal enjoyment of it and the film's cultural impact, with a negative score indicating lack of endorsement, 0 reflecting neutral, etc. For example, Twilight. It's like not a 10 out of 10. But it's a 5 here, bitch.
it's a +5. All right.
Plus 5. It's culturally important to me. So, on the Dalton endorsement scale, Matt, what are you going with?
+4 on this one. I want people to go see it.
Yeah, I'm going with a +4 as well.
I would go +4.5, I guess.
Hell yeah.
I love the negative option. I think that's incredible. I would love to see Letterboxd allow 0 stars to be a thing. I need that.
Yeah.
I'm all for the negativity. Love it.
We'll have to give credit to our friend Matt, Dalton, that's what we're calling it, the Dalton endorsement scale. And he was the one that pushed it, but I still found it hard to describe. And I was like, maybe we shouldn't just describe it. Just put it from -5 to 5 and see if people are different from their, 0 to 10 scale.
But, like, if you don't explain it, people get
I
confused,
know.
bro.
I get it. 0 is you're completely indifferent.
Yes.
But a 5 feels negative on a 0 to, or a 1 to 10 scale.
Yes.
But a 0 doesn't feel negative on a -5
It's
to 5 scale.
indifference,
That's
yeah.
like, yeah.
Yeah. I asked Matt if he had a name for his scale, and he said the Matt Dalton official better movie rating system.
Well, yeah, he wants to just do away with 1 to 10. So.
Yeah, but I don't because I use Letterboxd, and that is a 1 to 5,
Yeah.
half to 5, so
All right.
whatever.
We're in the weeds. We said we wanted to wrap it up. So, Dan, tell us one more time where everyone can find you.
Yeah, real takes on Instagram and TikTok.
You got it. Thank you again so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I'll happy to come back whenever you'd like.
Definitely.
Hell yeah.
We went on for a long time, too, so.
There's just so
Yeah.
much to say.
Yeah,
Funny
agreed.
film.
Well, Hannah, you got anything else?
Nope, that's all,
Well,
man.
Dan, thank you again. I've been
Yeah,
Matt Hannah.
thank you guys.
I'm Hannah.
This is Art the Hannah. Stay tuned and stay scared.
Thank you for listening to Horror Hour with the Hannahs. Make sure to listen to future episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or wherever else you can find podcasts. You can also find us on YouTube, where we post episodes and shorts. You can follow us at Horror Hour with the Hannahs on TikTok and Instagram, as well as at Horror Hour on Blue Sky for more content. If you like the podcast, please follow and leave a review on your favorite podcasting app. Happy hauntings!